I can't speak for all athletic subscribers or athletic supporters, or athletic.com, or the work, the appreciation or lack thereof by people following Alec Lewis at Alec_Lewis with his stories at The Athletic. And I have all your albums, but, like every radio show, every game call, every derby pick, every race call, not everyone is going to be pleasing to those we are serving, those who choose to read you, those who choose to listen to me. And what I'm getting at here is obviously sustainability matters, but the Kyrie Jackson story, that was a win. That was a fat W, man. It just, his mom, Ebony, I just, why two B's? So I start there. And so
I didn't ask her that.
I'm reading the story. I read the story when did it come out? Like 3 days ago or something?
I think Monday.
Okay, yeah. So I read it initially because I have all your albums.
Thank you.
But then in knowing you were coming in today, I reread part of it. And the extensive chat with his mom and the life path that he has traveled to this stage. Is it one of the stranger pieces you have researched and or written? Milwaukee Sun-Sentinel, Pasadena Star News. You've been all over the place. The Topeka Times.
Yeah.
Anniston Gazette.
Good morning.
Good morning. Was this one of the stranger or like more wide-ranging research pieces that you've written?
Yeah, it was absurd.
It was crazy.
But it was like part of it's a problem that I have where Kyrie Jackson, fourth round pick of the Vikings, cornerback, 6'4", long arms, arm length, fast 40, whatever. I was just very interested. You look at his background. The guy went to 3 junior colleges.
Right.
And then he was at Alabama.
Cutting ham.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, he's not cutting ham in Alabama.
And then he went to Oregon.
Cutting glass.
You said it.
Yeah.
He worked at a deli. He worked at Six Flags. He worked at Chipotle. His mom said that he told her that the manager at Chipotle got mad at him because he was serving too much chicken.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I'm thinking he probably just told his mom that. Brilliant idea to tell your mom why you actually got in trouble at Chipotle. But anyway, and so I just was fascinated by
awesome story.
And thank you. The way I operate is I want to know more. And it became a problem because I was talking. He went to 5 schools, so now I've got 5 schools of coaches to talk to. So I'm on the phone with Ken Wisenhunt, who's a special assistant in Alabama with Nick Saban.
Oh, wow, he is?
He was. Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard.
One of the kindest people that I've ever met at the NFL Combine, with whom I never chatted the rest of my life. It was like 5 years ago. He might have been with the Arizona Cardinals or something. And I can't remember how I met him, but we chatted for like 5 to 10 minutes. Damn, man, that's a super nice guy.
Yeah, he was incredible. But again, so I was like, I want to write about Kyrie Jackson. The problem is I'm talking to all these coaches, and then I've got a Google Doc of 30 pages of transcription. I'm like, what am I doing? Right. I told my editor, I'm sorry, I know this is a 4th round pick, but I'm kind of all in at this point. I'm just pot committed. And so
why did you start the conversation with your editor like this, that? Oh, that's a 4th round pick. It's.
I'll say that
space is. You can get as much space as you want at The Athletic, right?
Yeah, and I would say, my editor and the people who know my writing know, those are the stories I love to. That's why I do the job.
Yeah.
I don't do the job for today's story, Justin Jefferson extension, conversation, the numbers. I enjoy it.
I just learned today from you it's the A topic with the team.
In my opinion, I believe it should be the number one.
It's an epiphany from the Gridiron Gospel. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Glad I could inform all you guys that. But no, my editor, I think I just have to explain, this is why I'm writing this much about a 4th round pick. Because he probably wants me to write about quarterback and big name receiver and that type of stuff.
But does that mean you've been getting complaints in the past about the length of your stories and that they're too difficult to read, or was that a reef?
I don't even know how to respond to that. No, I think sometimes I've written I remember I wrote in Kansas City when I covered the Royals about a Rule 5 draft pitcher, and I wrote 2,200 words. And
At The Athletic?
At The Athletic. And this editor was like, like Stephen Woods Jr. might have a great backstory, Alec, but like nobody nobody.
But so did you get quotes from Freddie Patek and Locaine?
Yeah.
And were they cut?
Probably George Brett and Mike Sweeney.
Okay.
But, yeah, no, I always say like length doesn't mean good, but in my opinion, like if there's enough scenes to make a good story, that's why that's what I care about.
Well, the 4th round corner selected by the Vikings, and after reading the piece,
you said 3-2.
This absolutely is a wild card selection for the Minnesota Vikings, and you know there's something that was at the end of the story. To say it troubled me would be overstating it, but there was something at the end of the story that I felt was polarizing. But first, and young Alec Lewis, Athletic, laid it out pretty nicely. This kid's journey, Alabama coaches comparing him to Dre Kirkpatrick, but faster. He's cutting ham at Harris Teeter. He's getting fired from Chipotle for over-serving chicken. He's at Arizona Western with the tumbleweed. He's at Last Chance U, that school in Mississippi.
Yeah, I talked to Buddy Stevens, the coach. He's like, hey, man, I'm running into a meeting. Can I get you? Yeah, I'll get you right now. Kyrie. I was like, oh, my God, this is unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, I know. That's like the cul-de-sac where you grew up.
Of course. Made me feel like home.
Brought you back home down. And it's R32. Alabama and Saban, and starting in the national title game versus Georgia, which I didn't know. Then Oregon, because he and his mom wanted something more relational than Alabama. So he went to Oregon. And my first question out of it was his mom, Ebony with 2 B's. Why didn't she do his schoolwork? Why didn't she do his schoolwork for him as a senior at Wise High School in Maryland? The young man almost didn't graduate.
She was so.
Ebony's got to step up and do that work for that young man.
I asked about why did he end up going JUCO, and she was so matter of fact. Is like, well, I got to be honest. Like Kyrie Jackson, when he was young, when he was in middle school, great grades. When he got to high school, didn't care, didn't work hard, didn't do his homework. And the high school coach said to me, like, Kyrie just Kyrie's. And he just does what he does. And so it was.
You had that quote in there too. He's got 9 lives.
Yeah.
Kyrie's got 9 lives.
Coach DeLon Parrish, he said to me, he said, I want this in there to Kyrie. You got 9 lives, boy.
Well, I know, but we're going to see him at rookie camp this weekend.
We are.
And I wonder truly how good he is at NBA 2K, given he told his mom at one point he wanted to play it professionally. Mom, there are tournaments. Mom, there are prize games. Mom was like, boy, get a job. We ain't doing NBA 2K and calling it a career, okay?
She said he showed her stuff online, was trying to get her to believe it. I mean,
I'm really excited to meet this guy because of your story.
He's very charismatic, I just think depending on, in my opinion, how it goes in terms of his assimilation of the pro environment and Brian Flores' system, and Brian Flores is not a guy who's going to be
we ain't touchy-feely up in here.
No. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. That matters to me. But I think also he'll get going up against Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be able to see what this guy looks like.
Hopefully they're kind to him, because it's clear that, hopefully they are. I mean, we don't, we how am I going to put this? It's the undertone to the story was, I haven't met the young man. I look forward to it. But it seems to me somewhere along the line there has been the world's wrong and I'm right, okay, to the equation. And I might be wrong with that, and I will establish my own relationship with him, and we'll see where it goes from there. But with Kyrie Jackson, something got to me a tad near the end of the piece. One of his former coaches, last name Thomas?
Joey Thomas. He played in the NFL.
Okay. One of his former coaches, Joey Thomas, told young Alec, quote, with Kyrie Jackson, quote, if he trusts you, he'll run through a wall for you. If he doesn't trust you, he'll go the other way. That's Minnesota's job from here on out, to build that trust the right way. Interesting. It isn't the employee supposed to build the trust with the bosses and not roll in with coaches wondering, shoot, better work hard on that trust factor with Kyrie or he might head the other way?
I think it's a great question, and it's a great conversation that transcends beyond just the Vikings football team. And it's every business, every employee. And I mean,
I trusted you when I drafted you.
No question.
I trusted you not to hand out free double chicken to everybody at Chipotle.
I trusted you when I drafted you.
No question. But you know what?
You may think these veterans are L's, but they've lasted a little while here.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt that, again, that's why I said I think the assimilation into the environment is going to be important. But I think it's a good point. Joey Thomas, this coach, who's now at Florida Atlantic, he's their defensive pass game coordinator. Played in the NFL, and we had a long conversation, not just about Kyrie, but about coaching in the NFL.
Yeah.
And one thing that really stuck out to me with him and conversation I've had with a lot of other former coaches is I think there is a wide gap in the NFL in terms of coaches' abilities to really develop players and not. Mm-hmm. Some coaches really prioritize skill, fundamental, personal development. Some coaches are just... They got a lot of ego. They have relationships, so they get the job. And so I think his comment, having experienced the NFL, was like, it is on these coaches to develop a guy optimally and really be the best teacher. Now, it's a bold
kidding.
It's a bold statement.
Because if they don't, the coaches lose their jobs.
No question. Yeah. But he even said to me, he's like, I want you to put this in here. Because I think it felt to me part of like this former NFL cornerback, Joey Thomas, felt like there were coaches he played for in the NFL that he just did not feel like did a disservice to being at that level and developing optimally. Mm-hmm. And again, I think as fans, like, and even just on the outside as media members, you think like these guys are hired as coaches. They've got to be smart. They've got to be incredible.
Right.
But to me, from conversation I've had, I think there is a wide chasm between coaches who are really good at development and those who just have the job because...
And listening to you explain that way,
sure.
And I've heard it's, I'm not get off my lawn guy.
Sure.
Okay, I got a lot of respect for a lot of different things, and I keep a lot of things to myself. But this whole thing we're talking about here, if it is true, it's one of the softest, most pampered, entitled thing I've heard recently from A, this generation, or B, really? I got to win your love? Bruh, this is a meeting room. It's not a gulag, okay? Nobody's here to treat you in a way that you're not going to be trusted. But how do you earn trust? By following directions, and by winning approval of your teammates with authenticity, and then you're going to win trust. It doesn't work the other way. And if he thinks it does, or anybody thinks it does, shame on them.
No, I think there is definitely, without question, a responsibility on Kyrie Jackson to come in, to learn from the veterans, to do your job. I mean, all that stuff. And I see what you're saying. Again, this is why I say it transcends just football and the Vikings and the cornerback room. Like I think
I can't wait to meet him.
It's a broad conversation that I think is really important. But I
want to tell him you ripped him.
That's what you're making me feel like I made him. But like I don't know. I just think really to me what I feel like is important is you have to coach these guys differently. Mm-hmm. Now I'm not.
No doubt.
That doesn't mean certain guys don't have to follow rules or are above rules or above the standards set for the room.
Yeah.
But I do think if in every line of work, your employer, your employee, like meeting them at where they are and understanding how they react to certain feedback is really important, I think.
Oh, I agree. We're just going to stop it there. And we're going to meet the young man and move forward through rookie camp and mini camp and training camp and
OTAs.
Believe me, the metaphorical chips will fall where they're supposed to fall.
That's what I say. Like Brian Flores,
Wow.
And the way this defense, the way the defense runs and operates. I think it's huge to have leaders like Josh Metellus, Harrison Smith in the room. That's going to be massive.
Yeah.
But Brian Flores is not. You perform, you produce, no matter where you were drafted, what you're about.
And in fairness, this is not the fourth round corner Kyrie Jackson saying this. This is a former coach, Joey Thomas, saying, this is Kyrie. If he trusts you, he'll run through a wall. If he doesn't, hide the women and children because you ain't going to get anything. Okay? Paraphrasing, right? So when he said it's incumbent upon Minnesota to treat him and trust him the right way, no, it's not. You're looking at it wrong, man. It naturally and authentically will come together that way. But once the person who is hired the person who is given the internship, the person who is given the opportunity, the person who is given the job or drafted starts thinking, you owe me, I don't owe you? Are you kidding me with that? So it's not Kyrie saying that, it's a former coach.
Yeah, it's his former coach who he played for at Fort Scott. No, it's interesting. I didn't though. I didn't come in here thinking we'd have this conversation.
Oh, no, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Off that one paragraph.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
I couldn't believe you wrote it. I'm just kidding.
I'm like, it was this fun story. Now I feel like
awesome story.
And now I think I've spoken to.
You've split the room.
The 21st century employer environment.
You split the room.
Yeah. No, it's
good thing Caleb doesn't subscribe to The Athletic.
Yeah.
Or he'd have an immediate.
Well, Caleb,
the guy I got to trust.
Caleb has to do work to establish trust as well.
Well done.
So does Andrew Jr. I mean,
well done.
I mean. Yeah, I think no question. When you draft, I keep saying no question. I don't know why. When you draft a guy in the 4th round, it is incumbent upon him to come in and prove.
Thank you.
And prove why you believed him in the first place. It's not on you to be like, we draft. Yeah, but I do think Joey Thomas's comment, the former coach of Kyrie Jackson, spoke more to how sometimes the ego in this business can cloud actual coaching and development.
Right.
And it's hard to say. You can't say it to those guys' faces because they are coaches. They've done it their whole lives. But I really think, I had a conversation actually 2 days ago with a guy who trains an elite Minnesota Vikings player.
How is Dwayne Johnson?
And he said to me, it is unbelievable the amount of ego on some of these coaches and their unwillingness to do everything they can to learn, improve, and grow as coaches.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who's 70 years old, and he coached some of the best who have ever done it at the position. And to hear that, to me, it's just,
they're sour. Because they're like, I'm better than this guy. My room's outperforming this guy. This guy's become a defensive coordinator. I haven't got the opportunity. It's like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of incentives, and I get it. But to me, in that quote, and the reason I put that in there was more just I think sometimes I want to point out some of the stuff that that's not headline worthy. That's I just think these dynamics of coaching, development, ego, relationships, these are the themes from sport that I think apply to all these other elements of all of our lives and all of our environments, and I enjoy learning about that.
So do I, and I know we were joking mostly to a certain extent with what we were talking about, but I do mean what I said. That was a fantastic story, man, and it was. Why are you giggling?
Yeah, that's just a funny conversation. This was great. I feel like I'm I don't know.
I'm trying to help.
No, I appreciate it.
I've read the New York Times story. I'm trying to help. It's an awesome story, man.
No, thank you. I
Kyrie
appreciate
Jackson.
It was fun.
Cash thing.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword bank. The keyword is bank at KFAN.com.
Yeah, me too.
I've watched every game. I could not believe the other night. I could not believe
Without Rudy Gobert?
I also just this about me, I love basketball.
Yeah.
I cannot say how much I respect Nickeil Alexander-Walker and watching him play every night.
Do you remember when he played at Vatech? Because I don't. I know you watch college sports more than me.
Not really.
I knew he was with New Orleans, but then I went looking up his bio and stuff yesterday, and I'm like, damn, man, he was the 17th overall pick in the draft.
Crazy.
So he's a first round pick. Well, it's the NBA. He shifted hats 9 times. He's with Brooklyn, then Atlanta, and he was in a trade that involved Taurean Prince, a former teammate of his or a former Timberwolf. And he ended up in New Orleans, where Chris Finch was. So Finch was the associate head coach for the Pelicans.
Interesting.
And so from that to like Monte Morris, who ain't playing many minutes, but he helped during the regular season, to Finch and Mike Inori, the sideline walker. Excuse me, the 1A manning the sideline. Made him sound like he was a character on The Walking Dead trying to break into the compound and eat Negan's arm. All right, 3-2. But Nori and Finch were with Jokic, the fan has learned, in Denver. I mean, it's like, okay, well, why didn't they have the elixir or the antidote to beat him last? Well, they didn't have Jaden McDaniels. You know, they didn't, and I don't think Naz Reid played either.
No.
Right. So, well, now they got their dogs, and they've been together for a little while, and those guys know what bugs Nikola Jokic, and it's really, really making a difference.
I got to tell you, too, I'm reading this book right now, which is just always great radio when you say you're reading a book. I'm sure that...
How is Laura Hildebrandt's Unbroken?
I'm reading a book called Captain Class, written by a guy, Sam Walker, and it's about kind of like the importance of having an emotional leader. The guy doesn't have to be the all-star player, but like the importance of a guy who leads the right way. And it's really fascinating based on a lot of like research that's been done.
Yeah.
And I just
having trouble with your editor.
And I just wonder like the trade that they made for Mike Conley at the time that they made it, and the arc of this team and the way Ant has operated since that point. Like, I part of me just wonders, and I've like Johnny Athletic has written about it unbelievably, but that trade and bringing a guy like Mike Conley into that room and the way that affected everything, part of me just wonders if like we will look back years from now as like that was the point at which like this thing really took off. And I just think a lot about the makeup of teams, and it feels like beyond the talent, and it's obviously all over the place. Just the vibes in there and the like relational attitude among the players just blows me away watching it from afar. So
if like with your career, all right, if the money's right, is the NFL beat preferable and less taxing than NBA, NHL, and MLB?
I mean, yes, in a sense, because you only have 17 games and then the playoffs and you only travel once a week. But I will also say, like, I think I underestimated when I moved from MLB to the NFL. I mean, it just doesn't stop. You have the draft, you have free agency, you have the schedule release that they draw out for a week, you have the combine, you have the owners meeting. The NFL does such an, you got to tip your cap to, they just constantly fill the calendar, the media with news. So it's nonstop. I mean, my ultimate goal has always been, I love all sports and I don't like being just siloed all the time, because I always think you learn more about what is the pinnacle of each sport by actually looking at other sports.
Right.
It's why in a lot of the stories I do, I'm talking to executives in soccer or the NBA. Like I cross.
Well, how is Franz Beckenbauer? God rest his soul.
You're unbelievable. I cross-reference all the time because I just think, like, if you look at baseball, it's like 10 years ahead from an analytical standpoint to football.
Yeah. So
I want to know what's going on all the time. And so that's for me the how I look at it more than like writing a beat for a team forever.
If with Justin Jefferson.
I've heard of him, yeah.
The story is prominent at The Athletic and theathletic.com right now. Justin is now the number one priority for the Minnesota Vikings. What proverbial pearls of wisdom were unveiled in that piece, Alec?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the first time to me since the negotiation for the extension started where the Vikings don't have really anything else to sort through. There's no more Kirk conversation. There's no more Daniil Hunter. What's going to happen with his contract? There's no, we need to find the new quarterback. Let's go travel across the country and find the right guy. Like, all that's done.
Yeah.
There's no even let's sort through an extension for X. Like, this is it. So to me, it's like this is the time to get it done. And the earlier, the better for everybody. I talked to 2 agents for the story to get their feeling on numbers and what that would look like. One agent said to me the A.J. Brown contract obviously pushes it up. And so A.J. Brown's average annual value is $32 million. This agent that I talked to is like, Justin's deal is probably going to be somewhere around 34. Another
base salary on average?
Yeah, average annual value over the course of the contract. another agent who has a couple wide receivers at the top of the market.
Yeah.
Who has recently negotiated big time deals, said to me, like, if it's a 5-year deal, it might end up being 35, 36 million in average annual value. I mean, it's a heck of a lot of money. But I mean, the more you wait, and the more Justin's camp is willing to take on the risk of like obviously not getting the deal done, of the franchise tag looming, the more the price is just going to go up, because that's just how the market works.
Do you sense in any way, if the Vikings and Justin Jefferson have not collaborated or come together and found finality with this by training camp, that he will not take part? Maybe minicamp, or maybe not minicamp. I mean, is this a situation? Do you get any inkling where, he's going to sit out and not run the risk of a debilitating injury that potentially could, go DJ Wanham on his next deal?
I just have a very hard time believing, given how much I know that this guy loves football and loves being on the field, and I mean that loves competition. I mean, this is who this guy is. I can't say that enough from talking to people very close to him. Like, he loves playing the game more than anything else, and he wants to be a Hall of Famer. So him sitting out, not being with teammates.
How is Angel Reese, by the way? Are things working well for her?
Like, the captainship for him, really matters to him.
Yeah.
So I'm just not going to go anywhere close to that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, at some point, and I get, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, every time he talks to the media, he's going to get asked about it. That's just how it works. So he's got to say something. But at some point, saying he's the king linchpin, saying this is champagne problem, at some point, talk is just very cheap. And you just have to get it done. And again, the longer you wait and the more Justin's, and it takes two sides. Let me make that very clear. Justin's camp has to be okay with the terms. But I just feel like if you really believe in him the way you talk about publicly, then meet them at their terms in the right way.
And if he cares what A.J. Brown makes and is like, I have to make more than that, well, then he can go ahead and leave. Okay? Because that's just not the right way to look at it. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
because it's supporting the village too, to a certain extent, even if it's 3%.
Yeah. So here's what I'd say. Justin himself, I'm sure he wants to be paid handsomely and to where it reaches his value. But I think it's his agents and representatives,
Agreed.
As has always been the case.
Agreed.
They are the ones negotiating on behalf of the client. They're the ones who have to push, and that's their job. That's what they get a percentage for. That's why they signed at WME. That's why they signed him when he came out of college. So yes, I mean, I've thought a lot about the Kirk situation and the money and taking more money and thinking about building the rest of the roster. But I mean, I would say at this point, the Vikings have so much salary cap space that even if Justin makes $36 million a year, they have enough room to operate regardless. And he's done more through 4 years than any receiver ever. So to ask for a lot, if you're his representatives, I can't blame them for doing that at all.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, in knowing Justin the way I do, which is not like lifetime friendship great, but he's a sweet kid, man.
He is. And
he's a humble kid who I can't see well, this sucks. AJ got 32.
No.
If I don't get 32.5, I'm never playing again. I don't see him being that.
No, and I don't think he is, but the people around him are smart enough.
Yes.
I'm talking his agents. I'm talking obviously family members. Yeah. They know the numbers.
Yeah.
This is the agent's job, literally. Yeah. And if
it's like Russo with the Athletic.
I mean,
once he learned Sando got 650, well, that was a problem. But anyway, go ahead.
So, that's what I'd say. And I mean, Justin being 24 years old, having done what he's done, he deserves higher than A.J. Brown. Anybody who watches football, it's pretty obvious. So that's what they're going to ask for.
That's Alec Lewis from The Athletic. We'll put a wrap on the show with YA and more around the corner. It's KFA.
I can't wait until tomorrow.
Kevin O'Connell broke down film of J.J. McCarthy with Bursich at Vikings.com. So what do you know about the young man's game now, Alec? Say you didn't know into the NFL draft, and good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. And Nordo, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Good to have you.
Yeah, no problem. What do I know about J.J. McCarthy's game after watching the Kevin O'Connell film breakdown with Pete Burcich on Vikings.com?
Right.
Yeah, I don't think there's a ton I don't know.
Really?
You've
seen all you.
I hadn't seen everything, but I told you pre-draft. I went back and I watched all 22 of him against East Carolina, UNLV. Like I watched all of that. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. This guy has a cannon for an arm, and really they're going to have to work on layering and touch.
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation with someone who's worked with them a good amount.
How is Jim Harbaugh?
Probably be a story. Yeah, Jim's great. It'll probably be a story at The Athletic either tomorrow, Friday, or Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sounds like, I just hope that when JJ's throwing footballs this weekend at rookie minicamp, throughout the summer at mandatory minicamp, in the fall at training camp, that there is no overreact. There's going to be, because this is just how it works. If he throws a pick, if he throws a ball and misses a spot, he could be working on certain aspects of his development.
Yep.
And if the media, and I'm including me in that,
I know what you mean.
If fans who are at training camp, if everyone's freaking out about the way he's throwing the football and he's doing certain things in hopes of developing, I just hope people don't go crazy, because everyone wants to know. It's not my job to say that people shouldn't think this guy's going to be the future.
And you also can ignore it.
Right. And definitely can ignore it. I do think it's important to say that there are sometimes on these backfields and these practices where a guy is working on certain things that may not look perfect. And that like, as it was described to me, to improve layering and touch, a lot of it is just like trial and error. It's like being on the range and shaping shots, and then you get on the course and see what it looks like. And so there might be a lot of that. And I just think it's important, if they're going to really maximize this guy and what he becomes here, that taking it methodically, both internally, which I know they're going to do, and externally, to me, that's just something I feel like is important to keep top of mind.
Lastly, 90 seconds, you get it all. Do you find yourself laying around wondering, A, who's in the lobby of your apartment complex, and B, what they have planned for Walter Rouse, the OU tackle? I mean, my man has started like 60 games already from Stanford to the Sooners.
No, I don't find myself laying around thinking about what Walter Rouse is going to do. I got to be honest.
Right.
And the apartment thing, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea.
Right.
Walter Rouse, experienced player, 5th round offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to really take a lot lot of my brain power at the moment.
Yeah.
Now it might.
I ain't
at some
talking
point.
starting. But that's a lot of experience for big D1 schools.
No, it's a lot of experience, and has a good anchor, and I'm sure I could give you some other offensive line evaluation.
When they go unbalanced and it matters, remember this conversation, okay?
Pick your poison with Walter Rouse.
Come on, man. Now you.
I mean, last week I think we spent 20 minutes on like the special teams. So Walter Rouse is a valid talker.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad.
In the camp
I'll listen. I'll listen to you guys all week for Walter Rouse content.
Thank you.
And you can.
I'm not saying anything with the Vikings 2024 season from a high level will hinge on Rouse's performance, but I just, after reading Lindsey Young's piece at Vikings.com, I had no idea the guy started that much. And, unlike you, I find him to be quite compelling and intriguing, and I look forward to meeting him Friday at rookie camp.
I will say, I had a buddy at Oklahoma who covered him at Oklahoma, raved about.
How is Barry Switzer?
He raved about the guy that Walter Rouse is. So I just haven't put much thought into it. I don't know if you know, they drafted a quarterback, and then they also have this receiver who's the best in the world.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about those more than.
Nice of you to cut Dallas Turner out.
Yeah. No, Dallas Turner.
That's
I mean,
great.
why would I ruin a story?
Right.
Why would I sneak peek a story right here?
No doubt.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for having us. That's Alec Lewis, and I'm Paul Allen. Wrap show. Bye.
And the wraps are brought to you by Casey's. Food and fuel deals with Casey's Rewards, the elite pizza. It's all good with Casey's. Go to a Casey's today. 9 to noon, Friday. Get here already. I mean, Game 3, team rolling rock steady. Getting the shakes, need to see Ant taking the reins. Target center vibe, injected in my veins. It's insane, just a calendar year later. Getting pretty tough to find a Rudy trade hater. Keep it like the team, just one game at a time. But I got to admit, chance to sweep is on the mind. that didn't rhyme, but you surely get the point. MJ comps with the kid. It isn't time to anoint, but the champs are bending the knee. They're looking quite sad. Biggest weapon thus far, flinging heat pads. Gotta calm down, no need to get cocky. Don't be fooled, the best player on earth, a bit stocky. They can hit the stretch like a derby-winning jockey, but Ivan Drago, he's about to meet Rocky.
Oh my God! How could he do that?
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.